All right. Meanwhile, this has been one of the craziest week ever. You were watching campus after campus. I mean, I'm talking about the University of Wisconsin. You're talking about out in Berkeley. You're talking about UCLA, USC, University of Texas, Austin. And then you have MIT, Brown. Wherever you look, there's been campus after campus into chaos. In fact, they say it's been in 26 states. And the one thing is pretty clear. They seem to have the same game plan. Get some pup tents, build an encampment, find some material to do it, and there seems to be plenty of resources and money to make it happen.
Well, it used to be the guidelines for all of these liberals and progressives with the protesters that they would use Saul Alinsky's rules of radicals. Now they've gotten real tailored. This is Crime Think website, and this is what they're saying. This is one of the quotes there. It's clear that in order for this crisis to develop further, students' occupation should take buildings whenever possible. We can wield the most power by occupying the spaces where classes are held and administrators have offices. Another quote says this: be prepared to escalate your action in order to continue making it more expensive, whether materially, financially, or socially, to remain complicit than to divest their endowments from Israel. So they're making it very clear of what to do, take the building. These are all legal actions. But the one thing that continues that
they all go to that site.
They go to that site. But they keep saying divest from Israel. I don't understand what they say, what they mean by that, when you have a lot of these companies that are giving the university money. They give Israel money as well, but they're writing scholarships. So they want, I guess, the taxpayers to pay for the college, but they don't want these Boeing to pay for the university kids, those scholarships.
I think the real, you see the level of organization going on here, Lawrence. You see these websites. You saw at the University of Chicago that Bill Ayers went to, give aid and support.
Chicago Underground.
This is that's right. The Weather Underground. He's a domestic terrorist. He firebombed. You remember back when Sean Hannity was trying to warn America about the connection between Bill Ayers and Barack Obama, and what you're seeing now is the fruits of a lot of that work right here on this campus. And so I think what we're seeing is that the FBI should actually be looking into who is funding this, because these are people who are aligning with former domestic terrorist groups. These are Marxists. These are people who are anti-American. We see that in the form of their protests, and they're people who just want to really cause a lot of disruption.
But there's uniformity.
Exactly, it's coordinated.
And
Where's the FBI?
You mentioned Bill Ayers. I mean, he and his group bombed the Pentagon, bombed the State Department, bombed NYPD headquarters decades ago. He is an admitted, unrepentant terrorist. So it would make sense that he would be an inspiration to these Hamas supporters. So, of course, he showed up at the encampment at University of Chicago.
The difference is that now the FBI and all the upper echelons of our government are now stacked with all these boomers that were, allies of his back in the day.
But why was it that the governors and mayors were going to let this happen? It's almost as if they were on the same website, that they know, back up, let it happen. But they were not counting on the fact that by taking a building, that's a criminal action. That is going to spur law enforcement to get in there. The Columbia thing backfired in their face. That put them on the clock. I think they would have been compliant with that encampment still existing today, canceling their commencement address and being fine with it. But when you took the building, you're talking about a criminal action. The other thing to keep in mind is the money that was provided. Did you see
material.
When we left the air yesterday and they were able to look at this stuff? Do you see the coolers? They had a whole medical team. They were all set up to last week's. Who wrote the checks for the plywood? Who got the zip ties? Who got all the coolers? Who got all the food?
Well,
where's the money coming from?
The medical products were addressed to the university as well. So who allowed it to happen? Did they steal it? I would like to know that. Also, there's this major Iranian university that is now offering scholarships.
Shiraz University.
Offering scholarships for the people that are expelled from the university. Actually, they should go to Iran. They should go to Iran and see what it's like to be there with their gender studies degree. And I just can't get past all the transgender flags that are at these protests that I attend. Do you think you can go to Gaza and be trans on the street?
You can be gender fluid?
You'd be beheaded.
Does that transfer to Farsi?
Right.
I'm not sure.
You might be a live fluid.
Right, absolutely. But I would say this: the one thing you have to make sure is that if they supply the burqas or not, or do you have to bring your own? And are they for sale here at all? Because that definitely will be limiting to some women and their women's rights activism, especially if you want to play in men's sports or vice versa. So There's a lot going on today. I did not know this. They say at this point, 24 states, 44 college campuses, and just 2,000 arrests. What they weren't counting on is the counter-protest. What happened in UCLA when those Israeli or Jewish Americans, students or not, came in and started saying, we're taking this encampment down ourselves? We're seeing some of that chants go on at Rutgers. They were not counting on in their format of being these radicals that there would be Americans who are going to be fed up with it. What is astounding is to see George Washington's face covered with that Palestinian garb and flag. Where are the patriotic people in Washington? D.C. police got surrounded when they went to take it down, so they left.
Look at that. That's George Washington.
It looks like it's backfiring, though, because the GOP, NRCC have already buying ads. They're going to highlight all of this. They're going to show what's happening on the campuses, and they're going to layer it with the squad members essentially standing with the pro-Hamas caucus. So this is going to be on the ballot now, guys. This is going to be on the ballot. And the question is, will there be a pivot for Joe Biden as well as the Democrats? You know, that press conference that he gave yesterday, there was nothing new there. I mean, I condemn both sides has a right to protest. I mean, we get that. That's a fundamental American principle. But there was no plan or action to stand with the Jewish people. Or if they had this big roundtable that they were supposed to have 2 days ago, why didn't he say certain protections for the Jewish students? And then when he was yelled out a question to him about should the National Guard be sent in, he said no. You got Jewish students being attacked that can't go into the classroom, and you don't think we should send in the National Guard?
The National Guard, Lawrence, is to protect us from MAGA protesters. We know that because that's what they did with the National Guard surrounding the Capitol. They also put up metal detectors to make sure that there were no congressmen who were going to vote, and they had to go through metal detectors to vote after January 6th. That's what they're doing. Here's what I think. I think your question is such a good one, Lawrence. Why, you see these images, the American people don't like it. They don't like seeing George Washington looking like defaced or looking like a Hamas terrorist. This doesn't look good. So then why aren't they doing more to stop it? Part of it, of course, is that there's conflict within their own party. They're fighting. You have these young people. There's a civil war in the middle of this, and he doesn't want to get involved. But I've often wondered, as I've been watching this unfold, maybe they want us focusing on this protest because we're not paying attention as much because of these protests to what's coming across the border. The border is still wide open. Right. The real terrorists are coming through. The numbers of people that they want to come through to change our elections and our electorate are coming through. So there's that question as well in my mind. Are we
right? I don't think that they could have scripted something as bad as the border. This is almost as bad as the border collapse. Remember, he was supposed to be the agent of normalcy. The adults are back in charge. Whether you look at Eastern Europe, whether you look at the Middle East, or whether you look at 44 college campuses, this guy has brought chaos. And Alyssa Farah Griffin, who's become a never Trumper, used to work in the Trump camp, said, look out, everybody. This thing is going more and more Donald Trump's direction. And she wrote this in the Daily Beast. Here's an excerpt. And I didn't memorize it, so I'm going to need the prompter to go back to where it was. It's been a good week for Donald Trump. Trump spends his days gagged in courtroom, only appearing to give brief remarks to the press. Then consider Biden as deeply unpopular. Most Americans don't believe the country is going in the right direction. Actually, only 26% do. Then add in the terrible optics of violent campus protests over the war in Gaza. It could be the perfect scenario to damage Biden from the far right and left and hand the race to Trump, despite the utter unfitness. She does not think he'd be a great president. Well, the American people, even without the campus chaos, had the former president in front.
It's an easy victory, God, because although the remarks from the former president are brief because he's headed into the courtroom or leaving to try to campaign, it addresses the moment. It identifies who the enemy is. He's talking about the crimes in city. He's talking about the radicalization of our young people on the college campuses. He's talking about the border. So this was a campaign tactic to keep him inside of the courtroom and not be able to campaign, but he's maximizing the time that he has. And honestly, in comparison to Joe Biden, who has all the time in the world to campaign and talk to the American people, I mean, the bar is set so low I mean, he takes every single question that is asked to him. He talks off the cuff. There's no notes. There's no prompter. There's no script. Compare that to the guy that's in the White House, where you have to beg him, and then he's surrounded by all these press aides. Can't walk. I mean, good luck.
Trump is actively on trial for multiple felony charges, and Biden's having worse news cycles.
Right.
Think about that.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.